Hey everybody, I'm David.
I'm Jess.
I'm the husband.
I'm the wife.
And we are married.
15 to life.
What's up?
Nothing much.
What you doing?
Just waiting for you to get all set so we can record.
Okay. How's your day been so far?
It's been not too great. I was at the dentist for like an hour this morning.
And a failed attempt at fixing what's wrong, huh?
Yeah, my crown wasn't right, so they had to send it back.
Didn't they get your measurements right?
I don't know. It's just some kind of fluke. Well, the manufacturer messed it up or something?
That's not good.
I hope it comes back okay in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I know this has been an ordeal and you're sick of it. And I'm sick of it for you.
I hate the dentist, and I just feel like I've had to go so much.
Yep. And then I've had missed appointments and messed up appointments on my end with, the sickness I've had since our Branson trip.
I know.
So it's been a month of questions for me too, trying to figure all this stuff out. So it's been an interesting last month of our summer, pretty much.
Pretty much.
I cannot believe our kids go back to school in like 10 days.
I know. I'm not ready.
You're not ready?
No.
Don't you like having them in school?
Part of me does, but I'm going to miss them. It's been nice having them home for the summer,
You think they've had a good summer?
I think so. We still have a few things left to do on our list, but we're going to get it accomplished at some point, even if we have to go into the fall a little bit.
Yeah, we've got a couple of things lingering that we want to take over into the fall and get them done. And we do have a lot of, fun stuff planned for the kids that we're excited about.
What does that mean?
Like
we have a lot of stuff fun planned for the kids.
Yeah, that has not come to pass yet. It's planned, is what I mean. And I can't wait to do it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, we have stuff to talk about. And so I'm trying to remember exactly where we left off the last time we were in this vein of conversation. But we are coming up on the fall months here soon. And so before we get to our stint in Georgia.
Yeah, we're like continuing on our story. If you remember back a few months ago when we did our Texas talk about living in Texas and our time there, we're going to kind of continue talking about that from where we left Texas to what happened in the in-between between Texas and Georgia. Yeah,
we want to space it out a little bit to where we're not doing all of our ministry career in, just a few months. We want to make it last a little longer so the episodes have some time.
But if you haven't heard the Texas one.
Yeah, please go back and watch them and listen to them. They're really, really good. We encourage you to do that. And, it's been an interesting discussion to go back and kind of recap some things. Even before we recorded today, we were kind of just, reminiscing a little bit about, when did that happen or what time did that happen? And because it's been almost, we took the job in Georgia in 2016. So that's been almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we're still trying to remember, details from that. But in the timeline, if we're progressing chronologically in the timeline of all of these things, we get to leaving Texas and coming home to Alabama
So when we left Georgia, we had said we didn't know where we were going. We knew that our time when we left Texas, what did I say, Georgia? When we left Texas, we didn't know where we were going.
Right.
We didn't have like another job lined up. And so it was very scary. We talked about how hard that was to say goodbye, to leave our house and all of that. But before we left Texas, in the month or two, we knew we were leaving, but we hadn't left yet. We did have an interview in Georgia that we could talk about a little bit. It was in Noonan, Georgia, and we flew out there, which to me, I don't know about you, but to me, I was like, this is the answer. Yeah. This is going to work out perfectly.
This is why all this was set up, because God had this in mind for us.
We're going to have this time, we won't have to figure, we'll have something set up. So as soon as we leave Texas,
as soon as we let go of one branch, we've already grabbed onto the next one.
Yeah. I was like, man, this is going to be perfect. So we flew out to Georgia with our two little ones. Lucy was less than 2.
And then didn't your mom come over to help us?
Her and my dad drove in their motorhome, I believe, nearby so that they could help with the kids. Because we've talked about this before. Interviewing in ministry, it's a whole different animal.
It is.
It's not like any other job that you could interview for. It's usually multiple days.
Yeah.
It's very intense. It's not like you go in for a 30-minute to an hour interview and then that's it.
They want a day to get to know you. Then they want a day on Sunday or a Wednesday night, whenever, to watch you do what you do.
Yeah.
And then whether that's preach or lead worship
and they
or
just
whatever.
want to like know like a lot about your background and a lot about like, because you're hiring, it's an important, you don't want to hire someone like there's just a lot to work through.
And one of the biggest things that I guess we kind of considered, but it wasn't as big of a deal to us at the time. The biggest deal to us was being able to take care of ourselves and take care of our kids.
Yeah, we were in the weeds.
But this job was a church of God, and not as opposed to an Assemblies of God.
And that was the only time we've ever interviewed at a church that was not Assemblies of God, which Church of God is very close.
Yeah,
but like
the main,
you were already,
there's a few doctrinal differences, but the main difference is the way the denomination is organized and run.
Yeah. They're more like assigned. Pastors are assigned.
Yeah.
It's different. Yeah, I remember that being weird and being like, I don't know. But again, like we were fully like, we need something like tomorrow, you know, and we need something like yesterday. And you really hit it off with a pastor.
I did.
And it worked out so my mom and dad could come help with the kids because like we were going to be tied up, and Nate was 4, I think, and Lucy was not even 2 yet. So as you can imagine, that would have been very difficult if we had nobody to help us. We were going to be there like over the weekend.
Right.
And I remember like, I think our plane ended up getting delayed. It just seems like it was kind of a hectic thing.
Yeah.
But I remember him picking us up at the airport, and we really felt like we hit it off with a pastor.
Yeah, we did. And his wife is very sweet. His wife is actually a really well-known women's speaker.
I really, really liked his wife, but we didn't get to meet her till like towards the end of the visit. I think she was traveling or something.
Yeah, she was at a conference, and she came back in. We met her Sunday morning.
Yeah. So I really, really liked her, but just meeting him, we liked him. It was a position. It was a worship pastor position.
Yep.
We saw the church. We kind of hung out with them a little bit.
I rehearsed with the team as we always do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't remember that much about that Sunday morning.
No, other than it went well. I mean, it was a good service, and
I was fully. Remember, we met the missionaries that was a different church. That's when we went to Tennessee.
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting a little bit confused.
Correct.
Anyway, I don't remember that. I don't remember anything about that Sunday morning, really.
Yeah, it was mostly a blur.
But I remember them.
I just remember the vibe of the day, and I
felt good.
And I still remember the auditorium, the way the auditorium looked.
It was like kind of like a circle, wasn't it?
It was a circle shape,
like our church in Indiana.
Yeah, it was a circle shape with a curvature balcony, and I remember the tech booth and how they wanted me to do a lot of looking into that to see how I could make that better. And then their stage and their floor and everything had different shades of browns with like a little bit of purple here mixed in. I just remember the colors and the biggest distinctly difference was the stuff they were promoting was not anything we were used to because it was Church of God. It wasn't Assemblies of God.
Yeah,
so.
that was a little bit different. And I knew like you weren't ordained with Assemblies of God yet, but you were licensed.
I was licensed.
So it was like,
them.
well, how is this going to work? And
right.
I mean, I know they're similar, so there's probably some ability to transfer.
And this is all happening like May before we left.
It was maybe it was a little bit before we left. I think I don't even know
because we left first weekend of June, so it must have been in May.
It must have been. It's something like that. And I remember like as we left, I remember thinking like they're going to offer us this job because in our mind it was, well, we need a job. God has provided this interview. It seems like we gel.
Yep.
And they're going to offer us this job. And I remember they dropped us off at the airport and he's like, we'll be in contact with you.
Yep.
And I think they ended up interviewing like a lot of people, and it had been, I don't think we ever heard, did we ever hear yes or no? Like, I feel like they just kept saying, we'll let you know, we'll let you know, we'll let you know.
I finally reached out to them about a month later, and they said, it was kind of the response of, oh yeah, we've been meaning to get back with you. We're moving on to somebody else.
Yeah, it was really weird
how that worked out.
And like that was the only interview we've ever had where it wasn't like immediately yes or no, like within the next few days. I remember being like, that's weird. And everybody like around us is saying like, how did it go? And we're like, it went good. Well, when will you hear? I don't know. And it was just a lot of like, we needed to know.
Yeah.
But the more it dragged out, I was like, okay, I don't think this is going to work out.
Same.
Because if you know that, you know what I mean? Like if he knew we were the right fit, then it would have been faster. But he wasn't saying no either. So we kind of like had a little bit of a hope, but I don't know. At least I was really hoping.
So we get through that. It was a little bit of a disappointment for me because again, at this point, I'm like, I've got to feed my wife. I've got to feed my kids. I've got to find out what's next for all this. So we come back to Texas after the interview.
And I don't think we ever talked. Sorry to interrupt you, but I don't think we ever talked about how we were trying to sell our house.
Yeah.
And
it was a cookie cutter, so
they were building a bunch like it. And so if anybody wanted to buy a house there, they would just buy a brand new one.
That was used. Just buy one that's brand new, especially with all the incentives they were offering that we got in on when we got the house.
Right.
So.
But like right after we ended up moving, and we can talk about the trip and all that, somebody placed an offer on it. Yep. And we were again like,
okay, God's taking care of us.
God's taking care of us. Look how this is. I remember us being so excited. I think we found out on the way
to Georgia,
to Alabama.
Oh yeah,
because we went to Alabama, and I remember being like, okay, thank God, like our house is going to sell. Because we were thinking it's going to have to go into foreclosure. It's going to have to, because we couldn't, like, we had no more income coming in.
Right.
So anyway, that ended up not happening.
Yeah. And it took a long time. It took several months.
They did a short sale.
We ended up doing a short sale.
Wasn't a foreclosure, but it's almost as bad as that. And so we couldn't buy another house for like 7 or 8 years.
Yep.
We had to let that fall off of so that was a huge blow.
Big blow.
Because we loved our house, and now it's like, well, we're back to apartments with 2 small kids. And it honestly felt like, God, I don't know what you are doing. Like we feel like we, have done what you wanted us to do. We have served you. And to me, it felt like,
and we didn't quit. We left the healthy way, and we did as best as we could.
But there's no other interviews. We ended up having, I think, 2. Like one offer fell through.
Yep.
And then we had another offer, and then somehow that fell through.
Yeah. Then they did like some kind of inspection or whatever, and something came back they didn't like.
It was like a board in the attic. Like it was so random.
Yeah, like a support board wasn't installed exactly right, and they thought the whole roof was going to cave in because of it or something.
It was like a brand new house. We'd only lived there for like a year and a half, 2 years. I don't even know.
Yeah, about
maybe 3. Not less than 2. Because Lucy, we moved right like less than a year before she was born.
Yeah, we moved into the house in 2013, and we left it in 2016. So it was in its 3rd year when we left.
So and it was a small home, but still, like that was a huge blow because we've talked about, if you watch the last video, how hard leaving Texas. Well,
not the last video, but the last Texas video. Yeah.
How hard leaving the house was for me.
Yeah.
It just felt.
I had to almost pick you up and put you in the car.
You pretty much like drug me out of there.
Yeah.
I was devastated. And then to know like, oh, not only are we leaving this house, but we're not gonna be able to get another one. And it's back to apartments. And it was a mess. But anyway.
So we get in the car. We get the U-Haul. We have our parents helping us.
Your mom and dad.
Yep. They bring us down to Alabaster where your mom and dad live.
My mom and dad were on vacation at the beach. So the plan was that we were going to unload. So we didn't know where we were going. So we were going home to Alabama to stay with my mom and dad until we could figure it out. It was kind of the plan.
Your mom and dad have a few spare rooms that are not being used anymore.
They have a big like garage where we could store all of our stuff, which was a huge blessing. So your mom and dad helped us move. It took 2 days of travel and all that. Was a nightmare. With Lucy was getting car sick. Like it was rough.
It was rough. Because she's like 2 years old and doesn't understand.
Not even 2. She's like 1.5. And so, anyway, or almost 2, like 1 3/4. But then so your mom and dad helped us get to Alabama where my mom and dad live, and my brother helped us unload everything into the garage. And then as soon as we got done with that, we immediately went down to where my mom and dad were at the beach.
Yep.
And I remember like that was such a whirlwind, but I remember really needed that.
We needed to decompress and get our minds off of what had just happened.
It was almost like we were in shock. Scared. We didn't know what was going to happen.
And it gave us a safe place away from everything to decompress and actually, work our minds through everything.
Yeah.
And because you need a little bit of a detachment time. Now, I'm not saying you can't immediately go from one job into another job. You absolutely can. But I think it's healthier for us. We've learned, and I think this is why God gave us this space, is because we need to officially do our best to release where we just were. And get to the point of waking up, realizing we're not there anymore, and slowly but surely healing from the stuff you had to cry about and the stuff that you felt was wrong and all of that. You have to let all that go into God's hands and let all that heal. And then at some point, once you feel like you've kind of got a little bit of a rejuvenation, a little bit of refreshing, you can then turn, okay, now what's next? And
I just remember
and the beach was a great place to do that.
There is something so calming about the beach. And it's like we would walk on the beach at night and like in the evening. And I just remember feeling like, you know what, God, I don't know what you're doing. Like I cannot understand it.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you haven't given us another job. I don't know why our house hasn't sold. I don't know why this is all happening, but we trust you.
Yep.
And we're going to do our best. I mean, not that we didn't have bad days,
we did.
but we're going to try our best to just trust you, because I know somehow this is all going to work out, but it was hard to get to that place.
Yeah. And I mean, I go home and I immediately get my resume refurbished, and, we had already kind of had done that already, because I had a month or 2 months to get ready for that
you had already
interview.
been putting your resume out.
So I've been putting it out. I called pastors that I'd served with since moving to Texas and said, would y'all please write me, small letters of recommendations and stuff.
Yeah.
And that way I can attach that to my resume, so that if they call you as a reference, you can answer the phone and tell them everything and stuff I've done while I've been here and things like that. And it was tough.
But I will say it wasn't a long season.
No, it wasn't.
Stuff started happening pretty fast. The next long season we had in between Georgia and Indiana was much longer.
Yeah.
But this season was like a few months.
3 months.
3 months. And, I remember the hardest part for me was we would realize we needed something.
Yep.
Like, you unpack as much as you can, but like most of our house is in the garage in boxes.
Correct.
And then we had like this temporary stuff that we had unpacked in the house. Well, all the time there'd be something we would need.
Right. What box is that in?
And we would go down to the garage, and it was like horrible, because our whole house was
every
just sitting there.
time you'd go to the garage for anything you needed, you were reminding, we're not in our house anymore.
It was awful. And we had to go to the garage a lot, because there's a refrigerator down there. There's stuff we need. Plus, we would have to go unpack those boxes, and like we would be digging for stuff and trying to find stuff. Do you remember looking for those baby monitors?
Oh my goodness. It was a whole day long event looking for those things.
But we never found them until we moved, and I finally found it. But we looked through so many boxes, and there was always it was just a mess. And that's kind of how I felt. Like I just felt like a mess.
Yeah.
Like I'm not settled. My kids are little. Nate is teeny tiny. And at that time, well, I guess we can get there. It's not quite time yet, but I'm just going to go there. When we were in the middle of that season, Nate broke his elbow.
Yes, he did.
And so we had that. Like he had a cast on. He had to have surgery, and it was just really hard. Like,
I'm not engaging on purpose, because it's one of the most traumatic days of my life.
He was in so much pain, y'all, and we don't really know how he did it. We think he fell.
And he couldn't tell us how he did it.
Now he could tell. He would be able to I fell. Back then he just cried, and how it broke, they had to put pins in it, so he had to have surgery. Seeing your baby, I mean, he was a baby to me. He was 4. Go through the surgery, go through the anesthesia. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And then constantly well, we're about to move, or hopefully we're about to move soon. We're getting to new job, and what kind of doctors we get. To me, one of the hardest things about moving with kids is you've got to find new pediatricians, new dentists. And of course, we wanted that for our kids. We had to get them in Alabama and make sure that they had a doctor. And, so all of that was going on too. It was just a really hard time.
Mm-hmm. And the whole intention of you doing all of that, knowing this isn't permanent.
Right. Which is also crazy.
So whenever the new job does come through, wherever it is, we're going to have to do this all over again.
And Nate wasn't quite school age, but he had been in the school system in Texas, because he was special needs.
For the preschool system.
Preschool. But we couldn't really, because of how Alabama works, we couldn't really get him signed up that fast. We moved, was it June or something?
Something like that.
And then school started, and we were like, we don't even know if we're going to be here when school starts.
Yep.
Thankfully, he was just preschool age, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I still felt bad, because he had a good routine. He was going to school, and then we just kind of upended everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And so in the midst of this whole summer, we began, of course, I'm on the phone every day. I'm on the internet every day. There's about 5 or 6 church staffing sites you can go to, put your resume on. Some of them you have to pay a minimum fee. Some of them they do it for free, but they're not as traction. Nowadays, I mean, those sites are still pretty good, but nowadays there's so much networking on social media that a lot of people, there's not a day that goes by on the AG lead pastor page or the AG worship page or anything like that, where they're like, church opening here for whatever. And so pastors that are on that page can send information and send resumes and stuff right there. So praise God for technology. But this is, 2016. So the networks were starting to happen, but not big. And so I'm on the phone with pastors, and I remember talking with, a handful of pastors. From one pastor that is kind of an acquaintance now here in Arkansas. I did a phone interview with him over in Little Rock. And so that's where I got to know him. And when I did come to this job now in Arkansas, at our first sectional council, he was there. And so I was like, hey, you're the guy I interviewed with. He's like, that was you, so it was kind of funny how God kind of lets those funny moments happen. But after a while, you get to know people's names and you get to know, okay, that's the church that's here, that's looking. And I remember kind of like what we talked about with the 2008 to 2009 timeframe, or 2010 timeframe of churches that are still looking. That a few years ago they were looking for this position and now they're looking for it again. That's a warning flag to me that maybe I don't need to send them a resume.
We really like a lot of people look at ministry jobs as like boop, 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 stepping stones. And we have always wanted to, I know people are like, what do you mean? Y'all have moved around a ton. That wasn't what we wanted.
No, never.
We really wanted to go somewhere and stay there.
I tell people all the time that are asking me about ministry positions or interviewing in ministry and things like that. You go into that interview with the mindset, if God sends me here, I will be here till I retire.
Yeah.
Because then, I don't want to get into the whole thing about this, but they say when you uproot a tree, every time you move a tree, it loses a dramatic amount of its root system. And so when you replant it, if you don't give it time, then the roots will not grow back healthy. Therefore, it won't produce the fruit it used to. And the more you move a tree around, the less fruit eventually it produces. And eventually, the tree will not be healthy at all. And it's just going to fall out of the ground and die.
But if God moves the tree,
if God moves the tree, he does. But when God moves the tree, he moves it with purpose. He doesn't move it because the tree was...
But that was never our intention, is to move around a lot.
No, and so we always are all about, if we're going to plant somewhere, we're going to sink our roots as deep as we can. Even if there's parts of it we don't agree with or things we're not 100% sure about. If God brought us here, our roots are going to go deep because we want to be fruitful while we're here.
Yeah.
And so, and that's a whole, that's a whole thing that, we could go into detail about when it comes to congregation members and staff members leaving churches because I'm not happy, or I don't like the worship, or I don't like the way the pastor preaches, or I don't like how little they have for my kids. That's never should be what crosses your mind. The question should be, does God want me in this church? If I don't feel peace about being here, I need to go until I find the peace. And then when you do find the peace of God, this is the house I'm supposed to be in. Even if all my boxes didn't get checked, even that's not really my style of worship, or maybe there isn't quite enough for my kids, or the pastor's great, but he's not the kind of pastor I'm used to. That stuff doesn't matter. If this is where God wants you and you feel deep inside of you, this is where God wants me to be, that's what you go off of, and you sink your roots deep. And maybe that church needs you to be there because maybe some of those things you see that need to happen, that's why God sent you there. Maybe God needs you to come into there as a staff pastor or as a congregation member. And you know what? I don't see that ministry here. Well, maybe you need to start it.
Well, and
maybe you need to help them.
I think, I don't know, but most of you guys that are watching aren't in ministry, so this may not.
I'm talking about congregation people too. If they don't have, if you have a passion about feeding the homeless and they don't have a food ministry, then go in there and say, hey, pastor, can I pray about helping you start a food ministry?
It boils down to this. We grew up to where our parents didn't just leave church. Like they've
been in the same church their whole life.
So, but we saw a lot of people who would get upset about something or another
and just leave.
And they would just leave. And those people would just go to church to church to church. And that just never was us.
No.
And so even though we were in ministry, so it's a little bit different because we aren't really in control 100% of where we are. We still had that mindset of we want to have our kids grow up in a church. We want to be planted somewhere. And, we can want that all we want. That doesn't mean that's God's plan for us, but that was our desire. I wanted to mention.
Well, God's plan for us is to have that mindset.
Right.
Which is healthy.
But I'm just saying we wanted that. That's not necessarily what we got, but, his plan is always better than ours, and we can't, we don't.
It always works.
But I wanted to mention something I didn't in this in-between time while you were doing the interview or the phone calls and the networking and all that. I had just started my YouTube channel.
Correct.
I just started my YouTube channel right before we left Texas.
I still remember the videos of you sitting against the bed putting your phone on a little stand or on a bookshelf or whatever,
gosh, those
and just
videos
talking
are
to it.
cringy.
I encourage all of you, go back to
Don't.
you just for the sake of
It's so bad.
how far she's come. Go to Bless Jess channel and then go into videos and click the oldest tab. And go to the first videos of the first few months.
And y'all, I didn't know what I was doing, obviously. Like, I taught myself everything.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know. Like, it used to take me hours to edit my videos.
You've come a long way.
I have come a long way. I mean,
job.
I'm not like a professional by any means, but definitely some of those early videos. But in the in-between, I was so thankful for YouTube because it really gave me
an outlet.
It gave me an outlet. It gave me other people to talk to. Back then, we were doing a lot of collabs. If anybody remembers that back in the day, like if you had a channel or even if you just watched YouTube, you probably saw it, like all these creators, and we weren't like huge, but a lot of us smaller channels that we would get together and we'd have like everybody post your recipe on this certain day, and then we would all link each other.
Yep.
And so I felt like I had friends, and we did a lot. Like I remember, like we did a lot of stuff for my parents, and I'm sure they were just looking for ways to give us money. But
I painted their bathroom, and then about a year later, we came back and somebody had repainted it.
Well, they changed
Sorry, Dad.
One of my videos is that we reorganized my mom's pantry. Like we were just trying to like do some
anything we could do.
Anything we could do to like
keep our minds busy and to hopefully bring in a little bit of money here and there.
Yeah. And I don't even think I was getting any money from YouTube.
No,
I don't
weren't.
honestly know how we survived because you didn't have a second job. I know. I'm saying though, like we didn't have income coming in.
Nope.
Now we didn't have a lot of expenses.
Nope.
But we did have like insurance, cell phones, food.
So we had our savings, and then we had what little we could do.
And we didn't have much in savings.
No. And thankfully, both our cars were paid off.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because that was happening during that time.
And so, and also in the midst of that time, we are, I'm entertaining whatever I can and talking to whoever I can. And then in July of that summer, we took an interview in Iowa.
Yep.
And
this time we went by ourselves. We just thought, you know what?
Left the kids with mom and dad.
Kids with my mom and dad, and we flew to Iowa. And it was this small town in the middle of nowhere. It was crazy.
We landed in, was it Des Moines? Did we fly into Des Moines?
I don't remember that. But they gave us a rental car. And I really like that.
Or was it Cedar Rapids? Which city did we land in? I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
Either way, but
I liked this because every other place that we interviewed, they would come and get us. And then it's kind of like,
this one, they gave us a rental car.
Yeah, we had time to kind of like
look around on our own.
You get off of a long plane ride and you're just like, then you're having to meet people and all that. That was really nice.
You're at the mercy of their driving, where they want to take you, where they
you don't have a car to get around yourself.
Yeah.
So I liked, they did not like monopolize our time.
No.
We saw them a lot.
And it wasn't as a God church.
Yeah. And what was different about this church was they had 2 campuses.
Yep.
And so
we're about to plan a third.
So you were going to be helping with both.
Yes.
And it was very wasn't it to you very artsy?
A little bit. Each campus was different.
I remember the one campus was very artsy.
Yeah. The campus that we were going to predominantly be helping with was meeting in a theater. And so it was very, they had different rooms in the theater that were being used for different areas of ministry. And this was before. It
wasn't like a movie theater. It was like a
community theater.
Yeah.
It was a community theater that had separate rooms on the sides and stuff. And so when we got there, we met the pastor. And the first thing I remember thinking when I met this pastor is this guy is a salesman. Yeah. This guy is slick.
I liked him though. It wasn't.
We liked him, but the entire time talking to him, it was like he's always.
He was very I
don't even know the word I'm thinking of. It's like
you're making it sound negative though.
No, not negative. It's like there is no. I could never picture this guy sitting on his back porch in jeans watching football. He's always on his game kind of thing.
I don't know though, because he picked us up when we got to the hotel and everything, and he took us to this little hole in the wall place. There wasn't much restaurants there. There was barely any restaurants there. And I remember him being really nice. I got the opportunity to tell him a lot of my health story, which I don't think has come up in any other interview we've ever interviewed in, because nobody wants to know about my backstory.
Well, and one of the biggest things about it is because the Children's Hospital in Iowa is in their backyard. And so a lot of the kids that got sick, and I think it's not far from Iowa City, which is where the Hawkeyes play. And so a lot of the.
I don't think we were very close to a city though.
No, we were in the city that was there, but I'm saying like Iowa City was the nearest big city, and
That's
so
still hours away.
so a lot. This community was big on medical things. They were big on.
But what I'm
that.
trying to get at is every time we've interviewed, nobody has ever asked me about like my life.
Nope.
It's usually like yours, and then what do you do for him?
Yep.
That's kind of how
sad but true.
So I was
true.
impressed by that. Like he really, and we didn't get to meet his wife right away, like
Nope.
either. It was just him, and I remember I liked him. Like he was very outgoing. It was more like very high energy.
He was always trying to recruit you. He was always trying to, that's what I'm saying. He's a salesman. All the reasons why we want you to work here, all the reasons why our people love our church. There was I don't remember him ever saying anything of, this is a challenge for us.
Well,
or this is what's
I do remember him saying that the multiple locations have been a challenge, and they were trying to find someone that could kind of
and network it all and make it smoother.
Because it was like the one campus they had was like, had been there a long time. It was flourishing. And then the other one, it was kind of just like, they didn't really know, like, it was just hard to know what to do with it.
Well, because they were disconnected from it. This was in the beginning years. Highlands had already begun doing this kind of, but this was in the beginning years of the pastor's message is shown in both places.
Yeah.
And so what they would do, because they didn't have the broadcasting stuff yet, and I don't know what they're doing now. I need to look them up and check them out. But they had their campus, and then they had another campus on to the west that we went to visit the same day. And then they had a smaller one in a more traditional building to the north. And their plan was to have a star system where they had their campus, the west, the north, and then they wanted to go east and they wanted to go south. And they wanted to really try to focus on those 5 campuses
because
and build from there.
I can't stress this enough, where this was located
was
in Iowa,
nowhere.
It literally, there was not a McDonald's. I mean, there was nothing there.
Yep.
And so all of these people that lived there,
they're not traveling to that place. They're staying in their city.
Right. And so it wasn't like one big church. They wanted locations where people were, which is smart.
But they wanted the same message from the same pastor at all 4, 5, and eventually 5 places.
Which is very common with this kind of thing.
Yep. So I talked to him about is you're going to come, we're going to talk, you're going to meet some of the staff. They brought me into their conference room and they showed me the map of where they're going to plant the other churches. And this is the vision. And this is eventually what we're going to do. And this is why we're going to do it this way. And what they wanted me to come in was to help organize and train up the worship people for all the campuses.
Right.
So you would predominantly lead worship at the main campus, but then every now and then you'd go over and lead worship at the other campus.
They wanted like a facilitator,
and you would help them grow. And then every now and then you'd go up to the north campus and you'd lead worship and help them grow.
Which I do think you would have loved that.
Oh, I would have loved it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then they said, but also one of the responsibilities, because the second campus did not meet at the same time. And so one of the responsibilities that you would have is you would lead worship, and then as soon as service is over, they would put the DVD in your hands of the message.
This is only 2016.
Only 2016.
Time is, man.
They would put the DVD of the preaching in your hands. You would get in your car, drive west to the other campus, where either you would lead worship or help them in their worship, and then you would hand it off to their media person. And then at a certain time in the service, whenever that is, they would have everybody sit down and say, you may be seated, hit play, and that message that just got preached 2 hours ago would get preached to them. And eventually somebody would go to all 4 buildings with 4 different DVDs to do this. Now, I'm sure now they figured out how to broadcast it, but this is what was happening
then.
This isn't
even 10 years ago, but look how much has changed
in
technology.
Yeah, now Highlands broadcasts now Pastor Mark and all of them
streams and all that is just
to 20 plus locations at any time. And now YouTube and Facebook Live and everything and livestream.com and all these places have the message at the same time.
But I feel like we really liked them.
Yeah. And I love their progressive thinking. We don't want to stay just in our building. We want to go.
After church, he had a meeting already set up with a realtor.
Yes.
Because he wanted us to see, talk to them about how, because y'all moving here was going to be very difficult because, like I said, it's there's nothing.
Yeah.
And so I remember this realtor, and we're telling her the situation, we knew we couldn't buy a house because of all this stuff with our house. And literally she was telling us there is not one apartment I can show you. There's nothing available right now.
Right.
And I remember, and even buying a house, she's like, I really don't have anything.
No. Even a rent to own house.
And even if we could buy it, she was like, I don't have anything right now. So she showed us some areas, so we kind of be familiar with. But I remember thinking well, if God wants us here,
then
then
God's
He's going to make a way.
God can raise up a house right out of the ground if He
But
has
I was
to.
just remember thinking like, oh, this is a huge
That's
obstacle.
a huge obstacle.
Because where we have to live somewhere, there's not anywhere you can rent. There's not. It would like. But anyway, I remember after that, He kind of just let us have the rest of the day. Like we didn't have, which I was so thankful for. I wish more people.
There was no evening service
that interviewed you would give you time to just decompress
and think
in
about
that city
everything.
Because normally what happens is you're just scheduled every single minute of the time you're there
until you get back to the hotel room and go to sleep.
Yeah. And so we had that evening and I remember like we were trying to find something to eat. Like there's nothing. I think there was like a little store and then we ended up finding a like a little takeout place or something. But I remember us just being like, I don't know. Like
it's Iowa,
it's so far away. We really wanted to move closer to home. And this was a little closer, but not much.
It's the farmland culture.
Beautiful.
I mean, if you love cornfields, Iowa's where you want to be.
Really beautiful. I remember the sky just being huge.
Midwest sky. Everything's flat and full of
like
farms.
We could move to a place that has snow. Like that was exciting. But at the same time, we're like, I don't know. We really felt like we needed to move closer to home. And this would be another 10 hours away. This would be another culture shock too. This is going to be moving from San Antonio, Texas, now to Iowa.
To the middle of nowhere.
And I remember thinking too, like, what is the school system going to be like for Nate?
Right.
With such a small population. Yeah. So we were kind of confused.
And thankfully, within 2 weeks, we got a phone call from them saying we all met.
Well, but what happened is we went to that next interview. When we went into them, we hadn't heard that yet.
Right.
So we got another interview for a different church in Georgia. And this was only like a week or two after the one in Iowa. I think we had it set up before the Iowa one. And so we kind of snuck the Iowa one in. And so it was going to be in Georgia, just right outside of Atlanta. And I remember thinking like, that's close.
That's close.
That's the South.
That's 3 hours from home.
So again, Mom and Dad came with us and stayed like in another hotel room or something. And
now we're crossing into August.
And I remember being so grateful because when we got to our hotel room, it was like a king size bed. And I'm like, I'm so glad Mom and Dad are here because what are you gonna do with these two kids? So they kind of helped us. And I remember you had talked to this pastor and we had this was also very unique. We had Zoom meetings with them, or was it Skype back then?
I think it was Skype, and we had it with them, and I got in contact with this guy via somebody that I was in college with.
Yes.
Yeah. One of my mentors in college, who was my leader, who taught me a lot about the road and how to lead worship in different church settings and things like that. He's only like 2 years older than me. And so we would, I just reached out to him and said, look, man, you and your dad and your brother, y'all got connections to all different kinds of people. Surely you know a church that needs somebody like me, and you can vouch for me and tell them, who I am and what and all I do. And he's like, you need to call this guy. And so
I remember like you talked to him for a while, and then David's like, they want to like have a video with us, talk to us. And I remember them being really great. Like I really liked his wife. I liked him. They seemed like just sweet people.
Just down to earth, blue collar, good people.
And so different than the type of personality that we had served before.
Yeah.
Very laid back, very caring and just sweet.
Yes.
Like super sweet.
It felt like talking to our parents.
Yeah, it really did. They definitely had kind of a parental, and that's really what we wanted.
Yes.
We really wanted that. We had been hurt so bad.
We wanted a family. We
wanted a family.
I already had a boss. Now I wanted
we needed like a
figure.
chance to heal. And I remember going down there and, it's a tiny church. Like,
70,
that's a little bit
70 people, if that.
The church reminds me a lot of our campus here.
Yes.
Very old fashioned. And I remember us walking in and being like, this would be totally different than what we're used to.
Very different.
But we really loved the pastors and we liked the congregation.
Yep. And it would be a double role responsibility. You would be the worship pastor
we were nervous about that.
You would be the youth pastor.
I was very nervous about that.
And the only time I'd ever done anything youth related was in the gaps between youth pastors in Texas, where I took them to fine arts and I helped their worship team.
I knew you would be great at that. You were always great with the youth. I was worried about how I was getting it because I knew that was more responsibility on me.
Yep.
With two little kids.
And they had kids volunteers, but they didn't have a kids pastor.
No.
Their wife was pretty much it.
Yeah, she was having to do a lot. And so I remember us going Iowa, Georgia. and us being like, well, Iowa was going to pay more. Iowa has a bigger number of people. Iowa has more chance to grow. But there was just something about Georgia.
Yes.
There was just something about it. They couldn't afford to pay us a whole lot.
Once again, we didn't get all of our boxes checked. We followed the peace that we were feeling.
And, even when we talk to people, they're like, well, but I was paying more. I'm like, I know, but it don't feel right about it.
Don't feel right.
And so that's the thing in ministry. It's not like any other job. You don't just do pros and cons and then you pick the bigger list.
No.
You really have to feel like, where is God leading us?
Well, that should be in anything. I mean, but especially in ministry because you're answering for the kingdom work. But in any job, I think a lot of people are like, well, I'm a businessman, so I can pick which pays more and God's going to be happy.
Well, what I mean, okay, say you're interviewing at a bank in a couple of different banks in your same city. You're going to look at who has the best benefits, who has the better culture that I'm interested in.
But at the end of the day, if they came to me and said, Pastor, what should I do? I said, what is God telling you? God knows which bank you should work in.
I'm not saying there's not a little bit of that, but I'm just saying in ministry.
You mean a lot of that?
I'm not saying there's a little, no, I'm not saying there's not some of that, but it's not, to me, it's just different. In ministry, it's just different.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion.
Oh my God.
I firmly believe that you should apply that to no matter what you do. I think you should apply that to teaching jobs. You should apply that to mechanic jobs. Should I work at Midas or should I work at Jumpstart $5 oil company?
I'm not saying that.
I'm just saying everybody says the pastor should be led by God for where he works, but I'm going to pick what's best for me. No, if you're a kingdom person and you're a follower of Christ, Christ is Lord over every area of your life.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is in the business world, in secular jobs, a lot of times it is different in that it's more of where do I have room to grow? And it is too, where am I going to have influence over people? Where is the culture good? I just think there's a lot more to consider like that as opposed to in ministry and maybe in a secular job too, but even more so in ministry.
There's more secular statistics on paper as well. All I'm saying is if it all comes back to I'm a Christian, well, then it doesn't matter if I can make more here. Does God want me at this business or this business? No, that's all I'm saying.
I understand that. I'm just saying a lot of times when you're interviewing in a secular job, you're not interviewing in Iowa and Georgia.
Oh yeah.
You're maybe interviewing at 2 places, 3 places in your city. And a lot of times it's okay, well, who has the best benefits package? And it is too, who do I click with and managers and all that stuff. It's a little more not as heavy feeling.
Absolutely. No, I get that. All we're both saying is no matter what criteria you're navigating through, if you have a walk with Christ, at the end of the day, you put it before him and go, God, show me where to go.
The only reason I say that is because when we had talked to friends and family that weren't in ministry,
they were saying, this is a no-brainer. Why are y'all even thinking about it?
Yeah, y'all should go to Iowa. There's so much more opportunity there. And so that's what I mean.
I get that.
It's just on paper.
No, of course.
On paper, it didn't necessarily look like.
And friends, nothing. We had family that
I said friends and family.
Yes, a family that were Christians, and some of them had served in ministry that were like, look, y'all are young parents with young kids. Maybe you need to be a practical person right now and don't choose the hard thing just because you have a feeling. And I'm like, Abraham left his home to go to a land he'd never seen, but he did it because God told him to. You walk on faith, not by sight.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't like they're paying us pennies, the other place is paying us millions. It wasn't that. It was just, it was on paper. Georgia didn't necessarily look. The only thing on paper that looked great was it was close to home.
Yep.
And
the culture of that the pastors had created and them themselves.
I'm saying on paper, if you just wrote down just bare facts. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the pastors, the area, it just seemed kind of more like where we grew up.
Yeah, it felt like home.
And so I remember going to his office, the pastor's office, that next Monday after we had been with them all Sunday, and he offered you the job.
Yep, right there. And we had not yet heard back from Iowa.
But we
practically did the right thing and said, can we take this home and pray about it and sleep on it? And
I thought we said yes right in the moment.
I said, he still had to meet with his board to ratify everything.
Right.
But I said, we're going to go home and we're going to, as of right now, we feel very good about this. But I said, you can't offer me the job until you have a meeting with the leadership. They
all but did.
Right.
And I remember you called the pastor in Iowa and told him we have another opportunity that we feel like.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying well, I'm glad you called because we were actually going to go to the other people. Anyway, so it wasn't even a choice that we would have been
No.
able to make.
No.
It wasn't even offered to us.
No. And
But we had already made up our
thankfully,
mind.
we kept both doors open and waited on God to shut one of them,
Yeah.
which is what we're supposed to do.
Right. But we knew, we called him because we were shutting the door. God,
We were
we felt
gonna
like
shut the
God
door.
shut the door.
Yeah, we were going to shut the door.
So anyway,
Yep.
that was crazy. That was a crazy
So that was
time.
August of 2016, and we got ready and loaded up, and we headed over there in the first, second week of September. And at this point, our Nate had started kindergarten.
No, we hadn't.
We waited.
He
we
was
waited.
only 4.
So we waited to plug him in when we got to Georgia.
When we got to Georgia, of course, we had to find an apartment. We ended up,
Mm-hmm.
so where the church was, it was kind of in a more expensive area of town.
Right.
But the pastor and his wife lived a little bit outside there in
Mhm.
Cartersville. And we really liked Cartersville. Cartersville reminded me a lot of where I grew up.
Me
like
too.
a small town, but not nothing. Like they
Right.
still had stores and stuff. And
Biggest Kroger in the nation at the time.
yeah, well, they hadn't opened it yet. They opened it while we were there.
Yep, they did.
But I remember we got our apartment, which second floor, back to apartment life.
Yeah. And if you followed the Blessed Jess channel,
There's a lot of videos.
there's a lot of videos about living in those apartments.
Yeah, a lot of stories. And I remember
We'll
for
get to the,
some
when
reason,
we get to the actual Georgia episodes, you'll get all the stories.
when we left to go to Georgia, neither one of our parents could help us. And
Nope.
I don't remember exactly why, because
Well, we know why your parents couldn't, because they had the little ones and they were helping them.
I don't remember.
Because Emma was in school and Millie was starting
But
starting
they
preschool.
were going to come up later, but they couldn't for
Right.
whatever reason come. And your mom and dad couldn't. And so I followed you. You drove the U-Haul. And it was only like 3.5 hours from my mom and dad, something like
Mhm.
that. So it wasn't terrible. But we drove behind you. I think you had your car attached to the U-Haul.
I did.
And we got to our apartment. We had never even seen it. Like we just had seen pictures, which is how we end up. That's how
Yep.
we move, apparently.
Yep.
And I remember us getting there. It was a small, like 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And
And the pastor met us there.
the pastor met us there with some of his.
with a decent group of guys from the church.
And I remember they unloaded us,
Up one flight of stairs, praise the Lord, not 2 like Texas was.
but literally every square inch of that apartment was full of boxes and furniture. You could not even.
you couldn't move.
I remember when everything got in the apartment, us just looking around. There was nowhere to even walk.
I felt like a mouse in a maze looking for an exit.
And the pastor looks at us and he's like, "Look, I know you were going to start work in 2 days." He's like, "I think it's going to take you longer. Like, take your time."
Yeah.
This is he felt bad because it was just tiny place. We have like little kids. And I remember thinking like, what in the world? Like, how are we going to even unpack this?
Mm-hmm.
But we did.
Took us a month, but we did.
We pretty much had that apartment unpacked in just a couple of days. Like we couldn't stand, you couldn't even walk anywhere.
No, you couldn't.
It was crazy. That was the most stressful.
I'm just saying.
move.
I think we slowly but surely over the course, but the majority of it was within a week. But I still remember taking boxes to the dumpster like 3 weeks later.
No, honey, we had unpacked almost everything in just a couple of days. And then when my mom and dad came, like a week or so later, they helped us like hang stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But all of the stuff was really unpacked because we couldn't live. Like it was a small apartment already. And then with all the boxes in there, oh my gosh, it was
a whirlwind.
But what was great was as soon as we get there, I start looking into the school system because it's already, school had already started by then.
Right. And now Nate is kindergarten age.
Yeah. No.
He's K4.
He's still preschool.
He's K4 though.
He's still preschool. Kindergarten would be the next year because he went to preschool when he was 3 and 4. But anyway, so I started looking into it and I set up a appointment with a special needs director at the local elementary school. And I remember not knowing where it was.
Can we shout them out or do you want to protect them?
Let's just not.
Okay.
But anyway, so I put the address in my phone to see where it was because we didn't know where anything was. It was literally
half a mile
right down the road from the same road we lived on.
Yes.
And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh.
That's why God put us in these apartments.
It was amazing. And we got him into school pretty quickly and we loved the school. I mean, that's where Lucy ended up going to for, her first couple years of school. And we just loved it. And Nate went right in. I just remember being so grateful to have a place, even though it wasn't ideal, the whole apartment thing. And, we were still trying to get our footing and trying to balance everything in the church, now taking on youth pastoring and music. But I just remember feeling so relieved to like be settled.
Yes. That we're not going out into a garage and looking at all of our stuff in there.
Yeah.
And that I'm not scrambling for, please, Dad, is there anything I can do to just pay this month's phone bill for you? Is there any?
I know.
So just all of that, and then I hope this pastor gets back with me, and how many people looked at my resume? The numbers and stats would drive me crazy, because you could go back to that thing and, well, your resume has been looked at 200 times this month, and I've gotten 3 phone calls. And
that's the thing. Like it feels like it moves so slowly.
It messes with your head so much. Every day feels like an eternity.
Like that was really quick for all that to happen. It really was. In the moment, it
was the longest 3 months of our lives.
Well, I don't know.
I would say so.
The time in between when we were living with Mom and Dad for 10 months.
3 months of our lives, I said. Not long as 10 months.
Well, the 3 months in the 10 months was pretty long too.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful. We were so blessed to have our parents. We were so blessed to be able to spend time with them and, kind of recover mentally from everything that we had been through. But it was a hard season. And I remember we had Lucy's little birthday party before we moved. And I remember your mom and dad came. We had it at the mall.
Yes.
And I remember your mom and dad came, and of course my mom and dad were there. And I remember we had just announced that we were moving to Georgia. And I remember them like being so excited. They were like jumping up and down, because we had lived 18, 19 hours away.
And now we're only 3 hours from your mom and dad and 4.5, 5 from my mom and dad.
It was going to be like so awesome. Yeah. We knew like, oh my gosh, we're going to get to see them more, because, and so everybody was really excited. And this pastor was
so much more relaxed of, look, y'all got to let because he just had his first grandkid. So he was like, y'all got to, of course I get it. Y'all got the grandparents need to see the grandkids.
And like, I am so grateful to Pastor Donald and Melanie because they were just so gracious to us. Yes. And they didn't put a lot of demand. They didn't put any demands on me. I don't remember feeling demanded of at all.
No.
Now I did do stuff. Like I did children's. I
Wait for the Georgia episodes.
So I'm just saying, it's not like I didn't do anything there.
By the end of the interview process, you knew this is going to be a lot different than Texas was.
I was so grateful for their just like I said, like very parental, sweet.
Here's a crazy idea. They are family first.
Yeah. And we really didn't even know if that was possible in ministry. I think we had been so, I just thought, well, maybe this is just how ministry is, and they really, and we had said this before, that we felt like we went there to heal.
Yes.
And we did. And we had a lot of family time. And that's why I think we have so many memories of that apartment.
Now, we did have to go through some new stuff in Georgia, which we will talk about in the episodes. But in terms of discovering that this is not the norm in culture, that y'all did go through something unique and needed time to decompress from it and realize that was for that season. And I've said this to anybody who talks, sometimes God will let you go through seasons, and specifically he will, so he can teach you what not to do. And so much of Texas, as glorious as it was in so many areas, when it came to the behind the scenes stuff that we had to go through, there's so much now that the Lord will say, do you see the way you're handling this? Do you see the way you're helping this person? Do you see the grace you're showing here? You're doing that because that was not shown to you. Yeah. And now you're able to do that.
And it's like everywhere you go, there's hard things about it.
Yeah.
And there's great things about it. And there's so many great things about where we were in Texas. And we still have so many good memories of that. And so we're not saying it was just like this awful thing, but it was really hard on us being away from family. The culture difference was very hard on us. And I think just being so new to ministry.
Of course.
And so kind of stepping out of that and having like this breath of fresh air.
It makes you appreciate the fresh air.
Yeah. And we've said this before, like if we had gotten married and immediately gone to somewhere like Georgia, like this parental, very loving, we would have never appreciated it.
No.
We would have been like, well, this is great, but know, and so we were just, I feel like everywhere we go, God takes us there to learn something.
Absolutely.
And it shapes who we are. And you go through hard seasons and, you go through them for a reason. It makes you stronger.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's the transition of 2016 from June 2016 to September 2016. And I can't believe it's been almost 10 years since that.
That's crazy.
But it was a great season. I remember I can shout out, there was a book that I read in that time from Charles Stanley called Waiting on God. And I read that book in that season, and it really encouraged me of God is not, just because you're waiting doesn't mean God is. God's working. While you're waiting, God's working, and God's setting up things. And looking back now, we can definitely go, so many things God was organizing behind the curtain, and he's not ready to pull the curtain back and show you yet.
When you're in the middle of it, you think God has just completely forgotten us. Like, why couldn't we had something set up before we moved? Why couldn't we have had the house sell? Why couldn't we have had all that?
Because if all the dominoes happened the way you thought they were supposed to, you wouldn't trust him.
You would be like, well, look what I did, and so we really had to rely.
And you may be out there going, well, that's mean of God. Why doesn't God let you in on these things? Why does God make you have to have faith and make you have to trust you? Because here's the crazy thing. If he put it in our hands, we'd screw it up. Because can we just be honest? We're so self-centered and myopic by nature that when we put our hands on something, we begin to think that's something we can control, that we know better, that we can do it better. And if we let God be God and let him work everything together for good, he does so much more with so little and does so much above and beyond what we can think or imagine. It makes things happen that there's no way we could have orchestrated that or made that happen. And then you get to reap the benefit of it and reap the blessings of it. And he's just like, because I'm a good father, I'm here to take care of you, son.
And we can't forget that he is trying to grow our character.
Absolutely.
And, these seasons are very character building, and they were going to prepare us for the next season and the next season after that.
Yeah. So so what I'm just saying is God's not unfair about this.
Absolutely not.
He just simply knows better. And it's a good thing to trust him with that. And I'm thankful that we've learned this. And I'm thankful that even in seasons we've walked through recently while being in Arkansas, there's been questions that have come up. And now because of what we've been through, we can default and go, I don't like this feeling right now. I don't like the way this looks right now, but we've been here before and we know God's got a plan in the midst of this. And so whatever he's doing behind the curtain, I can't wait to see when the curtain opens because it's going to be so great when it comes.
I've always said too, like, I have not regretted anywhere we've been.
Never.
And was there hard times everywhere? Yeah. But it's shaped us, and it's our story, and it's how we've become the people that we are today.
Yep. And I'm so thankful for it. I'm thankful for the girl you've grown into.
I'm a lot different than I used to be.
I was a lot different than I used to be.
God had to pull me along kicking and screaming sometimes.
Sometimes God had to throw me in kicking and screaming, but it doesn't matter. Everything we've come through, we're better
and
for
you know
it.
what? God can handle your questions.
Oh, yeah, he can.
There was so many times during that season where I was so angry, but God can handle that. He can handle you asking him why.
Absolutely.
He can handle your pain. And that's always important for me to remember too. You don't have to be like so spiritual and you know.
Nope. Read the Bible. Most spiritual people in the Bible, including Jesus himself, asked why.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. God, to quote four hymns, why? When he knows your trust is in him, he doesn't mind the questions now and then. So true.
Yep.
We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you listen to it on audio podcast platform, make sure you give us, please, a big 5-star rating. Leave us a comment in the comment section of the podcast, and make sure you share it with somebody. And we want to continue to get your questions. We just did a Q&A episode, but we will be doing another one here in the near future. So make sure you're submitting those questions to us, and you can mail the long ones or send us a voice recording to married15tolife@mail.com. Again, married15tolife@mail.com. Sweetheart?
If you're watching on YouTube, definitely make sure that you are subscribed so you get notified when we post new videos. I'll screw that up. When you click the bell, you'll be notified when we post new videos. If you hit the subscribe button, we will show up in your subscription feed. Like the video, comment. What's wrong?
Bless Jess. Have you done this before?
I'm tired. I'm on Novocaine and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, they had to give you Novocaine this morning?
Well, no, they told me, oh, you don't have to be numb for this.
Oh, Lord.
And I said, excuse me? I'm very nervous about that. And she's like, well, do you want to be? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, most people don't want to be numb. They don't want the shot. I'm like, give me the shot.
Okay, well, hold on a second. Take 2, try again.
If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you hit the subscribe button so we show up in your subscription feed. Definitely click the bell so you'll be notified when we post new videos. Make sure you like the video and comment down below.
There's Bless Jess. I love you so much, honey.
I love you too.
I'm so thankful that no matter what seasons we've been through and transitions we've gone through, you've been right there at my side the whole time. couldn't do this thing called life without you.
Yep.
Love you so much.
I love you too.
We're blessed.
Yes.
And we thank you for listening and coming along on this journey with us on this podcast. Until the next episode, everybody, I'm David.
I'm Jess.
I'm the husband.
I'm the wife.
And we are married.
15 to life.
Have a great end of your summer, everybody. We'll talk to you
Stay
again
cool.
soon. Bye.
Bye.